from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Earl Johnson. From Fresno, California, Ed Bourdase. Hello, everybody, and welcome once again here at the beautiful Emerson Lanes in the industrial city of Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. You're watching Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show, the world's greatest bowlers in match game competition every week, over $75,000 in prizes. This is Fred Wolf. We have two more of our field of 24 of the nation's top stars in a three-game match. $1,000 goes to the winner, $500 to the runner-up. All competitions sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. 300 games are worth $10,000 additional. On top of all that, $250 bonus for 5 strikes in a row in any one game, $50 on top of that for every strike after the 5. Both these boys making their second appearance, so we're looking for some great scores. From Fresno, California, his opponent from Minneapolis, Minnesota, Earl Johnson, will be ready for the first game of 3 in just a moment. Earl Johnson from Minneapolis, Minnesota, starting this 3-game match. Bourdase won the toss, elected to start on the right. All games start on the left. Johnson throws on the nose, breaks it up the 4 and the 7. Earl Johnson, Minneapolis, a boy that can really swing that ball. In his first match, lost to Johnny Gunther, 554 to 642. Bourdase had 628. He lost to Ron Winger from Los Angeles. Johnny Gunther, the winner over Johnson. Johnson with a spare. So both of these boys lost their first match on their first appearance. They're both out for the big total. They're going to need big totals. Bourdase, of course, with 628. Looking for a 700 total, one of the finalists in the Winston-Salem Series, Championship Bowling, as you've watched it across the country over these years. He doesn't get there, the 2 and the 5. Bourdase, B-O-U-R-D-A-S-E, Fresno, California. He has a nickname. They call him Pop Bottles. A great athlete. As a high school student, he went on to play semi-pro football, semi-pro baseball. He was quite a pitcher. In football, a fine quarterback. Hurry up, Ed. He's got it. Bourdase with a little smile on his face. He wasn't sure about that when he seemed to drop it at the foul line. Sitting in with us this week, Al Farragelli, the veteran campaigner from Patterson, New Jersey. We have I'd say a couple of interesting styles here to watch this week, Al.
Yeah, you can say that. We have a Earl, which throws more of a spinner type ball, and Eddie more of a pickup with the ball with his fingers and roll, just like he did there.
He's high again, the 6'10", Edward Henry Bourdase. He weighs 194 pounds. He doesn't look that heavy. Pretty stocky boy. The runner-up to Johnny Gunther, Seattle, Washington, in the Winston-Salem Series. He was born in Oakland, California in 1928, father of 3 children. His wife, Donna, watching this week. There's the cover, and he has the 2. So Johnson will move in on the right side. This is Earl Johnson's first championship bowling series. And with a 554 in his first appearance, he's going to try to pick that one up. Very deep inside angle. There it is. He's got it. Boy, this fella is left of center here on the right side, Al. He was left of the 3rd diamond. Interesting, too, with all this turn, Earl throws the semi-fingertip. He doesn't have that big wide span, but he gets a tremendous turn. There it is. That's the famous Earl Johnson mixer. Boy, this boy can really pile them up. So Johnson is off with a double, 5 in a row, a $250 bonus. Bourdase had 7 in a row in his first appearance in the final game when he racked up a 246 to pick up $350 in bonus money. Johnson didn't make it. Bourdase, good turn. Here it comes. 10 pins stops him. That 6 pin going right around it in the channel. And Mr. Bourdase will have a cross-lane shot, and you've got to pay attention. All competition on championship bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress. These lanes have all been certified by Al Hoffman, the secretary of the Parkersburg Bowling Association. Hurry up. That's just about what we were talking about, that the outside of the lane's very slick. These lanes are conditioned every week for every match. Brand new AMF tournament grade pins. They're registered sets. They're matched weights. We don't make it easy for the boys. Real match game conditions. And Lindy Faragalli, who was working with us, knows that. He had a little problem there in his last game when he appeared the first game. There's the 4 pin, and Bourdase unable to get started. This fellow won an ABC tournament title in Detroit in 1961. He was a finalist in the National All-Star Singles in San Bernardino the same year. He's rolled 5 perfect scores at the 4 pin. As the cover. So Earl Johnson, who got off in a hurry with a spare and a double, moves in on the right side. Here's the 7th leading money winner on the Professional Bowlers Association Winter Tour. He averaged 204. Very deep. Where is that going? On the nose, and he almost kicked the 6 pin out of there for a triple. I was watching that ball roll, Lindy. I say he's in the center. He was almost over the 4th diamond that time, which is left of center.
That's right. I believe he is there, and he pulled that ball slightly. I don't know why. He's not trying to turn it, but he did that time, and that's why he went high.
There's the cover on the outside. Earl Johnson, Minneapolis, Minnesota, born in Tacoma, Washington in 1928. Both these boys saw the light of day in the same year. Earl went to Chicago in '54, to Minneapolis in 1961 with the National Bowling League. And he's been there ever since. There's another strike. So Bourdase already trailing here as we wind up the 5th frame, halfway in the first of 3 games. Pins. You'll notice Ed looks down at the approach. He's decided where his starting point is, which incidentally is left of center with his feet position. And he's playing left of center, and here it comes. There it is. So at the end of 5, in the 5th, Bourdase gets his first strike. He is 66 strike. Johnson is 89 strike. Going into the 6th, first game, Ed Bourdase, Fresno, California, tucks in his right elbow, flexes himself, gets relaxed into a 4-step delivery. On the Brooklyn, doesn't get across, leaves the 6-10. Well, I've always waited for this opportunity with Lindy Faragalli working with us this week. We occasionally kick around the fact it's a Brooklyn strike or it's a Jersey strike. And Al, you're from New Jersey, so what you call this definitely a Brooklyn?
We call them Brooklyn, right?
You call them Brooklyn. Well, now where do they call them a Jersey strike? In New Jersey?
In Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. I see. Well, we got that straightened out. We're in the 6th for Johnson. He's on a strike. Can add to that lead, and here she moves. It doesn't move enough. Oh, he got that one out in front of him. He had his body actually out in front of the ball. Looked like he rushed the line, Lindy.
Rushed a little bit, Fred, because he pulled the last one, and he pushed out his hand, and that's just where it went. He pushed it to the right.
The 245 and the exclusive AMF spare maker indicates the ball between the 2 and the 5, be careful. On the outside. Well, Earl didn't pay much attention to the spare maker. He decided he was going to go across. So they both cover spares in the 6th. The margin, 23 pins. We move into the 7th. Johnson moves left. These boys making their 2nd appearance. They were both losers in their 1st appearance. Here's the turn. There's the ball. Johnson with another one now. See what he can do with it when he returns to the right side as Bourdase moves in on the right. He had 1 strike, unable to get the double. 3-finger ball, wide span, fingertip. Look out. Well, he's not letting it swing. Sort of a lackadaisical delivery there. Al didn't seem like he had any speed on that one at all.
I think Eddie is trying more or less not to hook the ball too much for some reason. He seems to be bringing his ring finger up in there into the shot, and it's sticking on him.
6, 10, be careful. Ed just turned away. He knew he picked that one. So Bourdase is open again. His 2nd miss. He missed a 10-pin in the 3rd on the same lane. This time picked the 6 off the 10. And as this game goes, you can almost blame the 2nd miss on the 1st one. He threw it out. It fell off into the channel. He didn't want to give it too much room that time, and he picked it. No trouble over there. Now, as we mentioned, and you can see this happen week after week, Bourdase won the toss, meaning he wanted to start on the right side so he could finish on the left side in the 1st and 3rd games. And he has hit the left side the best. Johnson out again, and he breaks up the 2-4-5, leaves nothing but the 5 pin. So he's done the identical thing here on the right side both times in the 6th and 8th. In fact, the 4th, 6th, and 8th, he has failed to get the strike for the double at the 5 pin. He even plays that from the left side. He's got it covered, and the Sperry moves left. In 1st-round matches, Andy Marsich from Los Angeles, California, racked up a great 740, including a 279 game. You'll see Andy again. Dave Sutar, the youngster from Detroit, 705. Carmen Salvino, 691. There's Johnson again on the left. So it looks like Bourdase, in picking the right side this week, knew what he was talking about or what he wanted to do. Both boys hitting the left side very well. Nope. No, sir. Bourdase is not having any luck here on the right side. He seems to be fishing a bit. Threw a little more speed that time. Looked like he tried to kill the hook.
That's right. That's what he's trying to do, and that's what's been his downfall. The ball is coming off his thumb too soon.
Rather than swinging with it.
That's right. There it is. That was a good ball.
Well, you see that so often when a bowler throws at the spare. Invariably, he throws the ball the way he wants to throw it because he's not thinking of getting it out and getting it back. That's about the way it works.
That's right. They feel that they don't throw harder because there's only 1 or 2 pins, and they can hit it on either side.
We're in the 10th frame. 1st game. The margin, 36 pins. Johnson out in front. Bourdase with another strike on the left side. Ed now will get his 3rd chance for his double. That's the big assignment, as we have mentioned. The 1st strike, and then, of course, the 1st double. Well, Johnson got his 1st strike in the 2nd, made it count very quickly with a double in the 3rd. Bourdase now with his double, 2 in a row, and that's 3 in a row on the left. He had a solid 10-pin in the 3rd, which he missed. He picked the 6-10 in the 7th, both on the right side. like a big battle between Ed Bourdase and lane 38 here at the Emerson lanes, which we refer to as the right side. Ed will have to get himself straightened out on the right. Here's Johnson. He's on a strike. A chance for 229. Too much. On the nose. 4-pin. Earl was short twice. That time he thought he'd try to sail it in the pocket. He gave it that little jerk at the bottom, and he hit the nose, breaking it up. The count, the covering count, 209. He should have himself a 26-pin advantage for the $1,000. There's the spare. We were talking about the leading totals in the first appearance of our field of 24, these great stars. We mentioned Salvino with 691, Winger with 686, Dick Weber had 670, Fred Lenning, and McCown got it. Maury Oppenheim both had 648, Kowalik 645, and Billy Whaley 644. Now, we'll be back for the second game of 3 here at the Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. This is Fred Wolf along with Lindy Faragelli. Stay right there. Here are the scores for the first game. Bourdase 183 for Earl Johnson 209. The margin 26 pins. Bourdase with 5 strikes, Earl Johnson with 6 strikes. And just to correct something, it's Bourdase, not Bordeaux. I've been calling you Bordeaux once in a while, Ed. Is that all right? You don't mind. All right, good. Bourdase 183, Johnson 209. We're ready for game number 2. How about Parkersburg? Are you ready? Ed Bourdase, Fresno, California, moving in on the left, starting the second game of 3. Earl Johnson out in front, the margin 26 pins. Bourdase up short, the wide span, the big lift. 4 pins stops him, just a bit tight. Edward Henry Bourdase. Occasionally we call him Bordeaux or Bourdase. Eddie says it is Bourdase. We can get mixed up quite easily. There's the spare. So Earl Johnson now trying to protect the margin of 26 pins for $1,000. Johnson opened with 196 in his first match, which he lost to Johnny Gunther. Bourdase opened with 190 against Ron Winger. And Earl just walks away from that one. The 1, the 2, and the 4. I can't help but think, Lindy Faragelli working with us this week, that an angle as deep as Earl is playing obviously must be unusual for him. Does he play that deep all the time?
No, it is unusual. He was practicing and he thought that they were moving a little too fast, so he decided to move way in deep and spin the ball as much as he could so it wouldn't look too fast.
Both boys with spares in the first frame. Earl Johnson moving left. Earl is one of the boys that started as a pin boy some years ago when he was a high school student. Averaged 151 his first year. And when he reached 17 years of age, chalked up an average of 207, just like that. So Earl learned fast. He was a 200 bowler in a short span of 3 years, and he's been a pretty big boy on the Professional Bowlers Tour year after year. Strike in the second frame. Bourdase moves in on the right, still trails by 26 pins. And this has been Ed's tough side. That'll get there. There we are. Well, that's the first one that he really has let swing, wouldn't you say, Lindy?
That's right. He seemed to throw it more relaxed. And that's what they call the bowler's delight. When it comes in and just sweeps them pins off, it's a live ball.
Well, those AMF tournament grade pins look very live, too, on that one. Let's see what Bourdase can do now moving left. He has 4 in a row here on this side. But in ABC sanctioned competition, you must bowl on a pair of lanes. This makes it a little more difficult. You might like one and fight the other. Bourdase is there, and he makes it good. So Bourdase has 5 in a row. That's not good for bonus money. He has all 5 on one side. as Earl Johnson now must get this one to keep that 26-pin lead that he enjoys. Left of center. That may get there. There it is. So Johnson has matched Bourdase. The match is still at 26 pins. We're going into the fourth. Game 2. You know, the purchase of savings bonds is one of the significant contributions which Americans can make to the economic welfare and security of this country. You should buy United States savings bonds. Johnson for 3, gets there and does not carry the 7-pin. Well, he got a lot of action. He brought that one in from right field, Lindy.
That's right. That one, he swung around deep and it looked like he was going to knock that 7 over, but somehow it just swung around, hit it twice, but wouldn't knock it down. A little break there would have helped.
Well, it's a break for Bourdase. He trails. Johnson covers. So Bourdase will move in on the right side. He's on 2. Let's see if he can master the right side. He struck here in the second. Try to do the same thing. He gives it the room, and there it is. Well, I believe that Bourdase could be building up a little confidence now on the right side. He let that one sail, too, Lindy.
Very much so. It seems that he's getting his timing on 38 now, and I think all he needs is this little confidence, and you never know. He may not stop.
Well, if he doesn't stop, that means 2-9-0, and we're going to knock on that bonus door money pretty good. This is for number 4. He will return to the right side if he can get this one. We're almost halfway. The margin, 16 pins. Johnson is out in front. This is the big strike. Too high, wide open. The mistake, he pulled that one a bit, no doubt about it. That's the first time he's missed the left side in 5 tries.
That's right. They've both been hitting the left side. And it seemed that Eddie was up a little high when he delivered that ball. Fred, that's why I believe he pulled it high. He seemed to be a little lower before.
Week after week, I hear you boys talk about that. I don't think too many bowlers. Let's watch this shot. Well, he gets the 9. I don't think, Al, too many bowlers give any thought to that. You boys say you didn't stay down, or he did stay down. In other words, you raise your head. This is a common fault, isn't it? Raising your head.
Raising their head, and they come up with their knee too soon. They don't keep it bent.
Well, Mr. Johnson threw that one out the window. He has the 1, 2, 7, and 8. And let's take a look at the exclusive AMF Spearmaker, which indicates a cross hit. The ball between the 1 and the 2. The ball should go right down the line, especially this ball, but he's not going to do it. He missed the head pin in 2 tries. He's wide open, so both boys are open in the 5th. At the end of 5, Johnson 93 open, Bourdase 105 open. Little tight, Earl Johnson back in that pocket. This fellow won a Professional Bowlers Tour title in San Francisco. Won the Northern California Open in 1960. He was the Chicago Olive Bench champion in 57. Has won 3 ABC titles. There's the spare. So Bourdase getting a break, actually. Johnson opening in the 5th. After Bourdase opened, Ed leading in this game by 12 pins, the margin 14 pins. We're in the 6th frame of the second game. Bourdase, known as a slow starter. Look out. Oh, he almost had the 4-7-10, just not giving that ball enough room. He's got the ball, but as the boys say, he doesn't have the courage to throw it out there right now.
That's right. Got to give it room, Fred. He come out of that ball real good. He just didn't get it out wide enough.
Nice and easy. There's the spare for Bourdase. So it's still 14 pins. We go into the 7th frame. Fred Wolf along with Lindy Farrell-Gilmore, and he's too high again, the 6-10. Ed was a member of the Fresno Bombers in the National Bowling League in 1961 and 2, averaged .214 for the season, along with Vern Downing, Bill Bonetta, and Dick Downey, some boys you'll see in action here. There's the cover. The 6-10 converted, so for Bourdase, it's 123 with a spare in the 7th as Johnson steps up in the 7th, working on a spare. Johnson with a big strike in the 7th. Picks up a couple of pins and counts. The margin here in the second game, Bourdase out in front by 10 pins. He trailed by 26. The margin 16 pins. Johnson moves to the left on the strike. So with this one, Earl can get the 26 pins back. Careful. On the Brooklyn side, he leaves up the 6, the 9, and the 10. Seemed to hang on to that one a little too long, Lindy.
He did. You see, Fred, the angle he's playing so deep inside, there's not much room, not much margin for error there. The least little mistake is going to show.
Cross lane, the exclusive AMF spare maker indicates ball between the 6 and the 10, and there's the cover. So Bourdase still hangs on, trailing by just 16 pins, moving in on the right side. Bourdase used to be a very fine AMF mechanic on the great AMF pin spotter, decided that throwing the ball was a little more fun. He has mastered the game to become one of the big names in the Professional Bowlers Association. There's a nice turn. A little high. Boy, that one jumped. Now, the turn was there, Lindy. The angle was there, but he let up a little on the speed, I think.
That's right. That's why the ball got a little hop on the end of it and went right into the nose, where ordinarily it would have stood in the 1-3 pocket.
Bourdase wide open, 4-6. He'll take one. So Bourdase open. Johnson now back out in front by 29 pins with the full count in the 9th. Bourdase moving left. 2 open frames in this game. Throws high again. Oh, he got away with one. Well, Ed doesn't even want to look at it. The folks here at Parkersburg giving Bourdase a little encouragement. He got the strike, but Ed didn't even want to look at it. We're in the 9th for Johnson. There's that deep angle again. And he carries. You know, it's amazing to me, Lindy, a ball coming in the left of center as Johnson did, or as he has, that ball, of course, a little on the in-between, how that ball can still take out the 5 pin.
That's right. I imagine that the ball was skidding so far to the right that it hit the 3 pin into the 5 pin.
It could be. The ball hit the head pin, then the 3, and then the ball hit the 5. Johnson for 2. On the nose, wide open. So Bourdase still in the running here as Earl Johnson unable to get moving. Earl had a double as he did in the first game. In the first game, he started with a spare, followed with 2. Second game, started with a spare, followed with 2. And then in trouble the rest of the route. Well, he threw a lot of speed on that one, hoping for the miracle. One of those AMF tournament pins to come bouncing out, but that, of course, doesn't happen very often, and Bourdase moves in now on the right side. He trailed by 26 pins going in. Here's a very important ball for Ed Bourdase of Fresno, California. That's got enough room. In fact, too much room. The 2 and the 5, and Ed seemed to move deeper that time. He hit the nose the last time, left the 4-6. And in sitting up here, Lindy, as it is very easy to do, rather than making an adjustment, it seemed as though Bourdase should have gone to the speed.
Yes, he tried to make the adjustment with his hand instead of with the speed.
The 2-5. So Bourdase picks up 10 pins. The count here will give him 190. He can win this game by 9 pins, so we'll go into the 3rd and final in another close one. The margin will be just under 20 pins. Johnson will be out in front. $1,000 to the winner. $500 to the runner-up. The 2 bowlers with the highest pinfall for their 2 appearances or 6 games qualify for the finals. And that's the one Ed wanted on his first one in the 10th. So in the second game, Bourdase 190, Johnson 181. We'll be back for the third and final game in just a moment. Here are the scores at the end of 2 games. Ed Bourdase with 183 and 190. His total 373. For Earl Johnson, 209, 181. The total 390. Johnson leading by 17 pins. Both boys have 10 strikes. We're looking for 5 strikes here in a row in the last game. And I think if you folks here in Parkersburg, West Virginia would offer a little encouragement, we just might get it. How about it? Now, before we start the third and final game, we'd certainly, we can't forget him because he's a great host here at the Emerson Lanes. We'd like to call him out here, Mr. Mark Nichols. Mark? How are things?
Very good, Fred.
What do you think about championship bowling?
I think it's wonderful. I'm glad to be with you and AM staff on this show.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're a great host. Now, let's talk a little bit about bowling. Over the years, bowling is coming along in great shape. They say it's a boom. I don't know. You've been a proprietor for quite a while. What does this all mean?
Well, the answer is quite simple, Fred. People have discovered that they get a tremendous kick out of bowling. Mm-hmm. And more and more of them are participating in the sport. In fact, the entire families. There is no age limit.
Mm-hmm. Of course, everybody can't be a great star like these boys we see here every week, but you can enjoy yourself. You
yes,
agree
indeed.
Now, let's say your busiest season. What is your busiest season?
Well, there is no season, Fred. With air conditioning, bowling has become a year-round sport.
And is that the way
we have daytime leagues and evening leagues throughout the season.
Mm-hmm. Throughout even the warm weather. Nothing
yes,
but
indeed. We have daytime leagues scheduled to bowl this week.
Right in July, August, the year-round.
Right.
Now, how do you find your nearest bowling center if you live in, let's say, Paducah or somewhere there? What do the people do?
It's very easy. All you have to do is consult your directory,
mm-hmm.
the yellow pages. I'm sure that you will find a modern, beautiful establishment such as Emerson Lanes within minutes of your home.
Very good.
And most of the finer establishments display this BPAA emblem, Bowling Proprietors Association of America.
Very well said. Mark, we want to thank you because you've certainly been a great host here, and you did mention it, the beautiful Emerson Lanes in Parkersburg, West Virginia. I think all the folks will agree with that. How about it?
Thank you, sir.
Earl Johnson from Minneapolis, Minnesota, leading by 17 pins. $1,000 hangs in the balance. Throws, there, he carries, and Johnson is off with a strike. Well, Earl has been a great boy getting out of the gate. He started the first game with a spare and a double, the second game spare and a double, this game with a strike. But after the third or fourth frame, Mr. Johnson seems to run into difficulties. Here is Henry Bourdase from Fresno, California, trailing by 17 pins. He dropped it. He was lucky to get 6 pins out of that one. Let's take a look now at the exclusive AMF spare maker. This is one of the 1,023 possible spares. The spare maker indicates the ball should be thrown directly through the center of the setup, the 1, 2, 5, 9. The ball should hit the head pin, then the 5 pin, then the 9 pin, just like that. Well done. The AMF spare maker, the magic triangle pindicator, the magic triangle circle ball return, the Am-Flight magic line bowling ball. These ingenious devices are all AMF exclusive inventions that help speed up your game and help improve your average every time. Bourdase moves left. He dropped that one. Let's see what we have this time. The 1, 2, 4. What's going on here, Lindy?
I think Eddie has made a turn for the worse, Fred. I believe he moved a little bit left. And in so doing, he's trying to kill the ball a little bit, and so dropped it both times.
You think that his opponent is pulling him in there?
It could be.
Of course, Johnson hasn't been too successful, whether he'd make that move. Hurry up, Ed. He's got it. Bourdase with a spare, 7-pin count, 17 spare, missed the head pin in both frames. Earl now to that extreme left side, almost up against the ball return. The big turn, here it comes, and he carries. Well, I don't think the ball hit the 5-pin that time, Al.
No, it was a little deflect off the backboard and knocked it over, which is a nice break for Earl and not so good for Ed, of course. But it gets Johnson's string going, maybe.
We were mentioning with that angle Earl's playing here on the right, it doesn't seem possible that the ball could ever hit the 5-pin. Going for 3. 4-pin stops him. Johnson on the tight hit with that fast-breaking ball there at the pocket. He must look at a lot of 4-pins.
He definitely will look at a lot of them if he's that high. I'm surprised that he's not getting more 10s with that angle.
29-49, the spare for Earl Johnson from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Earl likes to play golf, and he's had that lucky shot. He's had a hole-in-one. He's had 11 perfect scores. And here is Edward Henry Bourdase, a great hunter and fisherman, bowling his first love. That looks pretty good. 10-pin. He seemed to sort of set that one down very gently, too.
That's right. That's what I was wondering why Earl didn't get some of these 10 pins. Instead, Ed got it. See, he was in a little, floated the ball out, but it had no drive when it hit the pocket, Fred.
Bourdase now at the 10-pin. He missed this one in the first game, threw it in the channel. He's no doubt thinking about it. No doubt about that one. So Bourdase hangs on. He trails in this game by 13 pins. He trailed by 17 going in. The margin is 30 pins, 7 frames to go. Still room for bonus money. Johnson has had 3 doubles. Bourdase has had 1 triple and a double. He got 3 strikes in the 10th frame of the first game. We'll call that a double. There it is. Kick the 4 out. So Bourdase now has got to go from here out. There's not much choice for Bourdase if he wants to come home the winner. He had 628 in his match against Ron Winger, picking up $350 in bonus money. In the last game, a 246. Never. Johnson just got a piece of the head pin. He has the 2-4-5-7. Call that 2-4-5 with a man in motion, Lindy. That 7-pin can be the bucky one here, too, can it?
It can be a lot of trouble, Fred. You can hit it too full, and this 4-pin will go around it.
Well, the AMF indicator says 2-4-5-7. The spare maker indicated the ball between the 2 and the 5, and Mr. Johnson did not follow that advice. Is open. It's a life for Bourdase, who is on a strike. Ed can pick up some 24 pins if he can get his strike in the 5th. A double against a 6-pin count and an open. Johnson in the 5th. That's there. So Big Ed from Fresno, California, moving in. He has a 215 average for 15 games on championship bowling. His high series, 700. High single, 255. Those 2 totals compiled in the Winston-Salem series of Championship Bowling Television's #1 bowling show, the world's greatest bowlers in action week after week. There's a good lift. Too high. Just didn't give it the room that he had to give it. If you're going to throw it that way, Ed, you have got to give it more room. You agree with that, Lindy, I guess?
Definitely, but that's the ball he should be throwing, I think, and aiming more to the outside rather than coming in, see?
Giving it room. Or having a little courage, as they say. There's the cover. So at the end of 5, in the 3rd and final, with 5 frames to go, and this the final game, it's Johnson 74 on a strike, Bourdase 76 on a spare. It's 15 pins. Ed Bourdase trails. Johnson is on a strike in the 5th. Bourdase on the spare. There's a good turn. No doubt about that one. So Bourdase, very spasmodic here. He throws one good one and then, of course, throws a couple of bad ones. He throws the ball well, but doesn't give it the room. He doesn't swing with it here, especially on the right side. Johnson on a strike. Here's a big one for Earl. He's got it. So that gives Johnson about 30 pins to work on. 4 frames to go. Still room for bonus money. Johnson started this game with a double. He had a double in the second game, a double in the first game. Now his second double in this game. 4 doubles for Johnson. Let's see if he can get past 2. Going for number 3. Here he is. There it is. So Earl Johnson now getting in position for bonus money. Earl didn't hit the bonus department in his first match against Johnny Gunther. Bourdase moving in on the right. Let's see if he gives this one enough room. He's got to swing with it. The phrase the boys use, he's swinging it. Is he swinging, Lindy?
Yes, sir.
All right, 7 pin stops him. He got it out there, but still didn't seem to have what I've seen this boy throw on the ball. It seems to die there at the pocket.
That's right. He's trying to kill it. See, he swung it then, but didn't have the same drive that he usually gives a ball when he lets go.
Hurry up. There it is. So Bourdase now with the cover in the 7th. He moves to the left. Johnson is on a triple. Has himself about 35 pins to work on. Almost 40 pins as Bourdase now only has 1 way to go. There is still room for 5 strikes for Bourdase. Room for 5 for Johnson. 4 pins stops him. On the 1963 Winter Professional Bowlers Tour, Bourdase averaged 207, one of the high average men on the tour, won close to $5,000. He was a semifinalist in both the World's Invitational. He finished 19th in that one. He was a semifinalist in the All-Star in Kansas City in 1963. There's the cover. So Earl Johnson now can just about wrap it up with a couple of strikes. Never. Out the window. 1, 2, 4. You know, bowling, just like baseball and football, starts with the youngsters, both as participants and as real fans. Now, did you know that there are leagues for the youngsters? Did you know that many bowling centers give instructions to the young ones? Why don't you call your nearby bowling establishment and inquire about children's leagues? There's the cover by Johnson. Or Mother, maybe you'd like instructions for yourself. You can't beat bowling for real fun, real relaxation. Get your mind off that house cleaning and the bridge game once in a while. Moving left, Earl Johnson in the 9th. 33-pin lead. There's a wide open split. There is room for Bourdase. Johnson pulling that one on the nose after missing the head pin on the right side. He'll just take the 2. He is open in the 9th, 177. Four pin, and Ed needed that one. Bourdase with a 9-pin count. He's on a spare. It's 10 plus the first ball count, which is 9. That gives him 154. The cover here, all the way, 204. If Johnson opens in the 10th for 186, 14 and 4 is 18. If Bourdase goes strike spare, Johnson must mark. Bourdase must get 3 strikes for 204. If he can get 3 strikes, which he cannot do now, the winner is Earl Johnson. Bourdase with 2 4-pins in the 9th and 10th frames. In fact, he had a 4-pin in the 8th. a 7-pin in the 7th. He was on a strike in the 6th. So Bourdase fills 10 frames, gets only 2 strikes, no doubles, for 193 with the count. Well, I can't say that Ed's going to be too happy with this performance this week, Lindy.
Oh, I don't think so, Fred. I'll tell you that 4-pin, if he would have carried that, kicked it out a few times, he might have kept right on going. And that was the reason why he dropped those other few, trying to hold the ball out.
3 4-pins in a row. There's the 6-10 for 191. So Bourdase without a 200 game, and that is unusual when you can get this fella out here and keep him under 200 for 3 consecutive games. Johnson with a big turn, carries the strike in the 10th, and with it, $1,000. Earl Johnson from Minneapolis, Minnesota. Neither boy cashing in the bonus department. And neither of these boys will be around for the finals, as their 6-game totals just not going to be enough. Johnson goes for one more. All but the 2-pin. Earl Johnson, who won the Louisville Open on the 63 PBA Tour, he defeated Billy Whalou in the finals. Billy, one of our field of 24 stars. He was a runner-up in the Charlotte Open in 63. And he just threw that one out the window for 196. In the last game, Earl Johnson, 196. Ed Bourdase, 191. We'll check the totals, have a word with these two fine bowling champions. And thanks to Alfred Lindy Faragelli sitting in with us here this week on Championship Bowling. This is Fred Wolf. We'll see you in a short minute. Here are the final scores for Ed Bourdase, 183, 190, and 191. The total is 564. For Earl Johnson, 209, 181, and 196. The total is 586. The winner, Earl Johnson over Ed Bourdase in a great exhibition of spare shooting. How about that, Parkersburg? Let's call out the runner-up, Mr. Edward Henry Bourdase from Fresno, California. Ed, first I'll do my duty here, your $500 runner-up fee. And speaking of running, you want to run home right away?
Get out of town fast.
You want to get out of town fast. I want to ask you a couple of questions. I'm sure the folks would be interested in knowing. I said that this will be one of the unusual times to catch you bowling 3 games under 200.
Yes, it is. It's the first time, Fred.
First time?
Unfortunately, yes.
Would you have any special reason? You want to tell us why? You have a headache or anything?
My brain wasn't working too well.
Your brain wasn't working.
No, I was throwing the ball a little bit too slow, Fred. And every time I tried to get a little speed, why, I lost it. There was no way. I just didn't have it.
I know that Lindy Faragelli up there, who was sitting in with us, of course, these boys can sit up there and find everything that's wrong down here, if we could convey that to you. But that's what Lindy pointed out. He pointed out 2 things. I want to see whether he was right. Number 1, your speed. You varied your speed.
Yes.
Number 2, for some reason, were you trying to kill your hook a little bit?
Yes, I was. I was trying to just flatten the ball out a little. The lanes were hooking quite a bit, and I was real deep inside. That's the deepest I've played in a long time. And
Lindy said that this 3rd finger, when you were trying to kill the ball, was your big trouble. If you could have got rid of that, you might have been all right.
I think all 3 fingers was the trouble.
All 3 fingers of trouble. All right, Ed, we'll hope to see you again on Championship Bowling. Ed Bourdase from Fresno, California. Well, when there's a loser, there's a winner. Earl Johnson, Minneapolis. Earl, congratulations. $1,000. I've got to ask you this question, because this is about all we talked about, was the angle you played here on the right side. Did you ever play that deep?
Not in a long time. In practice, just before the match, I was getting about 8 strikes out of 10, and I figured that was a pretty good spot to be, but kind of fooled me in the match.
Kind of fooled you?
I was hanging in the ball, and I guess I was trying too hard. I was squeezing it.
Well, these television cameras will do that to you sometimes. We were commenting, too, that possibly you were the fault, that Bourdase was so confused. He kept looking at you so deep here that he just naturally drifted to the left. So it's a pretty good idea if you can win.
Well, I've fouled up bowlers before that way.
You've fouled up bowlers before. Thank you very much. Hope to see you again. Earl Johnson from Minneapolis. Earl, good luck. Repeating the scores, Earl Johnson the winner with 586 over Ed Bourdase with 564. Sure hope you can join us again next week when Championship Bowling, television's #1 bowling show with over $75,000 in prizes, will again originate from the beautiful Emerson lanes here in Parkersburg, West Virginia, in the heart of the Ohio Valley. Until then, this is Fred Wolf saying, keep 'em bowling out there. Matching shirts and slacks used on Championship Bowling by King Louie. Championship Bowling is sanctioned by the American Bowling Congress, and we wish to thank AMF for their cooperation in helping us to produce Championship Bowling.